Hello, everybody. Good evening, and welcome to Inner Space Wembley. Today's theme. Anyone knows the topic of today? Very interesting. Farewell to ego. Very interesting topic. And for that, we have a Sigrun with us. She is originally from Iceland and have been in London last 5 years. She has been practicing meditation over 13 years and currently based in our headquarters in Global Cooperation House. Also, she runs meditation and various courses. So it's over to Sigrun. Please welcome. Thank you.
Shanti, and welcome to Space Wembley. Welcome to all of those who are online. It's an interesting topic. Farewell to ego. And I just want to start with reading here a few sentences that, from Daddy Yankee. I'm sure most of you know who Daddy Yankee is or was. He was like a leader of Brahma Kumaris or head of Brahma Kumaris, and she was like one who established Brahma Kumaris in London. She stayed in London for 40 years. Started with, came around 60 years old to London, didn't know the language, and just started with 2 empty hands, 1 suitcase and 2 empty hands. And he was very wise. He 2 years or 2.5 years ago died or left the body at age 104. So these are signals of ego that she gave. That ego is hunger for name and fame. It's a false sense of self, hiding our insecurity. It is based on conditioning. It is not our original quality of the soul. Block the flow of warm, positive feeling and feels the need of power of proving the self. These are words that he about or points about ego. And ego, first, if you want to let go of ego, you have to know what ego is and recognize what is my ego. Because we all have different kind of ego. It's not just that everybody has the same ego. We have all kind of varieties of ego. And when I was reflecting on this, I was thinking about how did I look at ego before I came to Brahma Kumaris. And in the blurb, they said either you are on the top of the world or you have a low self-esteem. And I thought ego were those who were on top of the world and as like were bold and able to do everything and had a high self-esteem. I had never identified ego as a low self-esteem until I came across this in Brahma Kumaris. And yeah, it made a lot of difference for me to see ego in that way. But ego, where does it come from? We can think about where does ego come from? Because when we are born, newborn baby, you don't have an ego. You really appreciate yourself completely, and you don't know anyone. You might have some connection with your mother, some like a vibrational connection, but you don't know her feature. You don't know her face, and you come into the world, and everything is just okay. And you accept the world exactly as it is. So say, for example, if I'm born somewhere where there is a lot of poverty and everyone are poor, I wouldn't think that there's anything wrong with that. Like I come from Iceland and there's a lot of snow there, and people say, how can you live there? That's just what I'm used to. I'm just used to that I have to dig snow to get out of the house during the winter. I have to dig up the car so I can use the car, get it on the road. And that's just normal. So when we are born, whatever situation we are born into is just normal. But when we grow up, we get this different message from the people around us, different message from our siblings, our parents, our grandparents. Of course, it starts straight away. I get the identity that I'm a female. I might be a big, I might be a small, I might be a not too pretty, or I might be a very pretty. And I get all these signals. You are this, you are not that. And I'm sure most of the children get a positive signal in the beginning, but some are unwanted, and that affects them. So it is like we have accumulated all kinds of information that has created our identity. And I say, and that's come just from me, it's not from Kumaris, I say every sentence that has I am to something is wrong belief I have picked up on my way through life. If I say I am too tall, I'm too whatever, I'm too fat, I'm too thin, I'm not, yes, everything that is true and everything that is negative is something that I have picked up on my way through life. I have heard it somewhere, you're not a good singer, then you believe I'm not a good singer. And the school system is like crazy to think about how the school system works, because they have decided this is a good student, person who can do this is a good student, and we get the information, you are a good student, you are not so good student, you are good in this, you are good in that. So we pick up, and you're a fast reader, so you get a high mark, you're a slow reader, you get a low mark. So we constantly get information about from the society, how we should look, how we should behave, what we should own. If you buy clothes from this brand, then you are smart and beautiful, and everybody wants to be your friend. So we constantly get this information throughout our life, and that is like molding our image of who I am. And this is one of the things, or I think probably the thing that mostly in fact affects us by creating ego. If I'm not good in something, then I feel like I have a low self-esteem, and that creates an ego, and that creates a lot of barrier in my life. But yeah, so by exploring ego, it is when I feel very low, I feel I'm not able to do things, I feel like everyone else are better than I am, I cannot do this, this one is much better, they are right, I'm not right, they must be right. And I trust others more than I trust myself. Then that is ego. And then you see the other part of ego, I am right. They don't know how to do it. I will do it. They don't know, it's best that I just do it. They cannot do it properly. So, yeah. And by seeing other people's effects, that is kind of one way of ego. To look at people and think, this is not behaving right. This one shouldn't do like this, and telling them off and being bossy. So everything that gives us sorrow is ego. Or in a way, everything that makes us feel good and makes us feel bad from outside is one kind of ego. So it's a tricky one, and a lot of people don't know that they have ego. They just don't realize what is my ego. And I was thinking about what is my biggest ego, and I'm going to share with you personal experience that has affected my life hugely. I was born with a dyslexia. I had a very, very hard time learning to read. And of course, the school system constantly told me that I'm not good enough. Because, and you compare yourself with those who are very good in reading, and you should read fast. I was not able to read fast. Okay, I went through the school system, and fortunately, when I was in Iceland, there was like a 9 grades, and when I was in the 7th grade, I was a little bit fed up with my school. I had been put, when I was very young, I was put in a group that was called the Pink Group, and the Pink Group was those who were slow reader. And the teacher used to come into the classroom and say, no, the Pink Group should come, and we were put in another classroom to read, and I just hate it. When it's like those who are not good in sports, when they are choosing the best to be in the team, and there's always the same person who was the last one to get in the team. I really hated this Pink Group, and when I was in the 7th grade, I said to my parents, I don't want to be here anymore. I want to go. Wanted to go to like a boarding school. They didn't send me to a boarding school. They sent me in another school where I was staying with my brother's in-laws. There I just came completely new, no information with me, and nobody knew whether I was good or bad in teaching, so they put me in the better. There were two. There was A and B, and I was put in A. And I thought, it's going to be the most shame if they take me out of A and put me in B. So I started to, really, really learn. And after these two years there, I passed. It was like everybody in the whole country took the same test. It was like everybody got the same test, and I passed it. I didn't pass it like with a grace. It was I just passed it. But I was the only one from the Pink Group who passed the test. So, we had got this label very early that we were not good enough. And we carry that with us. And of course, I had dyslexia, but that word didn't exist when I was in school. It wasn't known as something that was wrong. It was just either bad student or good student. So, and this has affected me a lot throughout my life. I've always tried to hide this, and that's a sign of ego. If you don't want people to know something about you, you're trying to prove that you are something different from what you really are, or what your capability. You're trying to prove that you're something else than you really are. And it has effect when I'm applying for a job, or when I'm asked to read text or whatever. It has affected me in many, many, many ways, and created low self-esteem. So it can be so many things that go with us through the life without we are realizing we are allowing this to stop me from being the best who I am. Because each and every one of us has a huge amount of quality. We have all kinds of qualities, but we tend to focus on what we are not so good in. I remember this. No, I should not apply for this job. Maybe it was not necessary to be such a good reader in this job or that job. So it has taught me a lot in my life. So I just realized yesterday, this is probably one of my biggest ego. And I hadn't thought about that before, but that's how it is. And the ego is like false identity. When I identify myself with this body, when I identify myself with things, like what kind of car I have, what kind of house I have, what kind of job I have, and, you know, am I born into rich family or poor family? So it's the identity of what is outside. And I forget that I am a soul. And these are just roles. We are like, this body is like filled with all kinds of labels. You know, we have all kinds of labels. I'm this, I'm this, I'm this. And when we create ego, it's because we have completely believed that this is I. I who am this person, or this quality, or this knowledge, or this that I have studied. But it is not I. It's just a role I'm playing. The role I'm playing, and this role is affected by where I was born, how I was raised, how my society treated me, the information or the message I got from the society. Because the society is constantly telling us how we should be. Constantly. We are like bombarded with information about what the society or how the society wants us to be. It's like a tendency that everything should be put in the same box. And when you step out of the box, people get a little bit upset because they want to have you the way you used to be. They don't want you to change because it's easier to communicate with you, easier to accept you when you're just doing the same as you used to do. Just by taking the step to live a spiritual lifestyle, that is a big step, and that shakes the world a lot. People really don't know how to accept how you change when you start to live a spiritual lifestyle, and I experienced that a lot. One of the first steps I took was to stop drinking alcohol. My friend said, they felt like it was completely nonsense, because it had never been a problem for me. You know, I was not a big drunker, but they felt, you know, what kind of nonsense is this to stop doing this? There was no reason to stop doing it because it was not a big problem. And they just wanted to have you the way you used to be. So, yeah, we constantly get information from the society. Of course, different information. It depends on what society you come from. You come from a society like, I come out from a society that is like a lot of things that are just normal. Like it's very normal in Iceland that people have babies before they get married. It's just very normal there, and it's other societies it's not normal. So it's society have given you permission to be in this way, not that way. And that's how we have created false identity around ourselves. We have created false belief, and we are taking sorrow and happiness from these false beliefs. We are believing that this is the true I, and yes, this is the true I, and this is what makes me happy, and this is what make me sad. But when I learn that I'm a soul, and I'm a soul that is just playing a part, and this is not the only part I have played. I have more parts. I don't carry the ego with me from one part to another, but I carry my uh, my personality, my interest, and of course I carry karma with me from one birth to another, but the ego doesn't come with us. So the ego, at least I'm going to blame the ego completely on my upbringing and the society I'm brought up in. And it's very, very healthy to be able to identify my ego. Because I cannot work on my ego if I'm not able to identify it. If I cannot see what it is, and anger is very much associated with ego. Because the slogan for ego is, I am right. And when I want to prove that I'm right, I sometimes get very upset. I even get very angry. And I say anger comes from fear, because I want to control what's going on. If I take, for example, say for example, your child is doing something, you get really upset. And when you explore, why did I get upset? It's probably because you're afraid of the child is doing something wrong, that could harm the child. And you really don't want the child to harm itself, because you might lose it. It might affect you. And usually, the fear behind anger is that because I'm afraid of that something will happen to me. I will not be stable. I will be upset, or I will get sorrow. And it's very deep to think about it, because, and in a way, very entertaining as well. When you get angry, and you think about it, why did I get angry? What was happening? Why did I go down that lane? Why couldn't I accept this person to be the way she is? And at least in my case, it's usually because it's inconvenient for me, creating trouble for me, or making sorrow for me. So it's my fear of facing my emotions, my reaction, what is going on inside me. So and if we manage to let go a bit farewell to ego, the anger will be less, But I really encourage you to explore when you get angry, if you ever get angry. But when you get angry, what is happening? Why do you want to control the other person? Why do you want the other person to think like you or behave like you? Why can you not just allow that person to be the way it is? Often there's a lot of attachment with the ideas, your ideas. And that's ego too. It's ego that I am right. I'm right, and you should behave the way I want you to behave. It's too in relationship. Egos affect relationship a lot. Because where there's ego, there's not true love. And what happens in a lot of relationship is like people feel like they have an ownership over the other person. Whether it's children, parents, or partner, feel like I own this person, and this person should behave like this, not do this. And it's like taking the free will away from that person. Because you really want to control that person. You have a lot of bossiness, and you're telling the person, Why don't we allow that person to be the way he is? Because I feel like I'm right. My way, my idea of how this person should behave is right. So it is nice to explore it and see, and slowly, if you work on this, and especially if you use meditation, you will become more and more detached from the souls around you. But it doesn't mean that you don't love them. You can love them. You can even love them more. But that gives a lot of freedom to the others to allow them to be who they are. Like, I was living with 3 teenagers when I started to meditate, and the sentence I used a lot was when they were doing something that I really didn't like. They were doing a lot of things I really didn't like, but I said to them, I feel like you should do it this way. This is your life, and it's your future, and you decide for yourself. And when you say it this way, you are sending out information. I trust you to decide what is the best for you to do. And I think trust is the best thing you can give to others. Because if you trust people, they become trustworthy. It just happens automatically. If you always send the message, I don't trust you, I feel like you're doing wrong thing, you shouldn't be like this, and all those information, that is just to create like a low self-esteem and sending out negative vibrations and negative feelings. We always want to send good feelings and positive feelings to others, and at least my 3 children turned out like a very decent people, and they're all grown up now. But it was very interesting to how I could shift my way of approaching them when they were doing things that I really didn't want them to do. And I always knew that they will get over it. They would stop doing it. I just had to wait. But they were a very, very good teacher. Very, very good teacher. And of course, I had and have attachment to them, but been able to cut that down. And they all experience a lot of change when their mom started to meditate and live spiritual lifestyle. They felt a lot of positivity in their life. So we are like a role model for those who we live with, and it is very important that we send good vibrations and good message out. Because like I said, our ego is based on the information that we have got from our parents. Number one, our parents are our number one role models. Even though we don't like our parents, if they're still my main role models. That is how it is, and we cannot. If we grew up with them, if we didn't grow up with them, they are not our main role models. But ego, at least we know how we have created ego, and ego can be big, and ego can be small, and ego can be connected to all kind of things, almost just everything. But it's a lot about wanting to prove who I am, or try to hide who I am, try to prove that I'm right. And it depends on whether it's like being on top of the world, or if it's like being down in the valley and want to dig a hole and be in the hole, because we feel like we are not worthy at all. But when I learned to identify myself as a soul and recognize that this is a role, and everything that I'm doing is a role, and then I managed to create like a humility. And humility is the best way to kill the ego. We have a humility, allow others to be the way they are, and allow people to do things the way they want to do. Once I was in a global retreat center in Oxford, like probably 8 years ago or something like that, and I was in the kitchen, and we were people from here and there in the world, and we were chopping vegetable, and there were a lot of waste thought going on in my mind, because I felt the person who was with me didn't know at all how to chop broccoli, and because I felt the way I chop broccoli was the right way. And we can just be stuck in little things like this, that how people sweep the floor, they don't know how to sweep the floor, and etc. and etc. And one woman did was exploring how many ways you can wash up. And you can wash up in 120 ways, was her result. And if I feel like the way I wash up is the right way, then I can have a lot of waste thought about how other wash up, especially if I am in a community where there are a lot of people. And if I just live alone and don't have to associate a lot with people, then I can just make my safe bubble. But then I can just be very upset about how people drive, or have opinion how people walk, or whatever. It can be in everything. If I'm constantly sending out my opinions about, through my mind, how people should be, then that's my ego. That is my ego. If I'm constantly saying this is ugly, should be like this one shouldn't behave like this, I'm constantly sending out message about that I'm right. I'm like feeding my ego that I'm right by constantly thinking about others. And one tricky thing about whatever irritated, and whatever I don't like about other, is mirroring something inside me. So it's like a mirror. If I see something I don't like in other people's behavior or how they look, because it's mirroring something inside me. So it's like a boomerang. Whatever I send out, it comes back to me. And that's too something that is worthwhile exploring, really worthwhile exploring. But to work on ego and change your ego is first you have to identify it. You have to see it, and in a way you have to accept it. This has been your journey. If you really want to change it, then it takes time. It takes time. It's not going to happen in a day. You have to give yourself a time. And I say, and of course we say here, the best way is to meditate. And the combination of meditation and knowledge is a very strong combination to create a foundation or base to change your life. Because through knowledge, it strengthens your belief, and you recognize what is going on, what this is all about, what this life is about. And that when you meditate, that strengthens your intellect. You become more bright in a way, and you understand more what is happening internally. You get to know yourself better. And by knowing yourself better, then it's easier to see why I behave the way I behave, why I have low self-esteem. I have adopted it somewhere on the way, and I don't need it. And I can decide to let go of it. It might pop up again and again, but when I've decided to let go of it, it will happen eventually. It will happen slowly, but it will vanish. It will go away. And it's with everything. If I have determined thought, I manage to connect to the higher being and use the power that I get from higher being, then it is easy to change. And that was what I learned when I came to Brahma Kumaris, how powerful it was to connect to the higher being, and how easy it was to do big changes in my life that I had wanted for a long time. But I didn't have the power to do that. Of course, when we are with God, it must be successful. You know, we can tell ourselves, if I'm able to be in connection with the higher being, connected to God, and I can easily take power from that soul to do changes in my life. And it's beautiful how it can happen. It is beautiful in many ways, how because that soul is there for us. It is there for us, and when we use this power, we can so easily do internal changes. And when I just managed to overcome but it would be like a little things in other people's eyes, that can be huge success for me, because I know what it is that has always stopped me. Usually it's fear. It could be fear of other people's opinion. It could be fear of failure. It could be fear of anything. We just have to explore, what kind of fear do I have, and really do I want to let go of it and take energy from the higher being. And no, it will happen. It will happen. That is how it is. It is amazing. I had myself tried for a long time to become a vegetarian. Of course, I'm raised where there's very few vegetarian, and I lived in the north of Iceland, and there was no center there. I took the course, and nothing was happening for 2 years, and then they opened center there. Brahma Kumaris bought a house, an open center, and I thought, okay, I'm going to go and help them. And I'm at least going to be vegetarian for this weekend. But I never went back. And later on, I just realized it was the power that came. You know, I got this power just by being with them, meditating, connecting. And, you know, I said to myself, I'm at least going to be this weekend, but it has lasted for almost 13 years. And I don't regret that. But it's so many things that, you know, that is possible to change just by sitting in meditation, exploring what is right, what is wrong, and take a determined thought, put in determined thought, I'm going to do this. And it will happen. But I encourage you to explore your ego, because say for example, if you think about how would you answer the question, who am I? If somebody say, who are you? And you meet somebody on the street or in a party or something, and they say, who are you? And we would probably identify ourselves as I'm a Sigrun, I'm Icelandic, what is my work, whether I'm a mother or not, or whether I'm married or not, or, you know, that's how we identify. So if I think about how would I have answered this question when I was 7 years old? Somebody has said, who are you? When you're 7 years old, and we would answer that question completely different. We would say, I'm daughter of this one, I'm a schoolgirl, you know, sister of this one, and, you know, a friend of this one. And it has all changed up to date. So I am not that. I am not that. I am a soul, and I'm not my role. And by remembering that that's a great thing to remember, that I am a soul and I'm just playing this part. And I know it's a big thing to let go of all my identity, but I'm not saying we should stop living the life and stop communicating with people or stop working or stop doing things, but not depend on that, because it's all gonna go. I came alone into this life, and I will leave alone, without all the things I have, all the people, nothing, no one will go with me. And just to love myself and understand that I'm a soul, that's a big step. Understand that those who are with me, okay, they are people I'm connected with, and I want to live this life in a harmony with people and do my best in this life. And one way of that is to let go of ego. Because ego, Adit Yanki once said, if we wouldn't have any ego, we would save so much time. Just to think about our conversation with others. How much ego is there? How often am I talking about others? How often am I criticizing others? When I'm criticizing others, what am I doing? I'm telling myself that I'm right. I'm better than they. They behave in the wrong way. So, humility is one way of feeling, or, if we manage to let go of ego, there is less anger, there is more love, there is a better relationship. It's improve a relationship a lot when you allow people to be the way they want to be, not trying to tell them that they should behave like this, because we can never change anyone. We can tell people how they should behave, but we can never put anything into people's mind that they want to accept it. And if I'm telling people how they should behave, it's not gonna happen except they really want it. They have to want it. And it's same with me. If somebody tell me you shouldn't meditate, you think I would listen to that? No way. You shouldn't do that. People are constantly telling us what not to do. That's just because they want to prove their ideas are right. So there's a lot to explore, a lot of material, and it's a vast thing to explore your own ego. It is a vast thing because it's so subtle. Some have a like a big ego in either way, feeling that they are best and that. A lot of us have an ego in the way that we feel like we are not good enough, we are not pretty enough, and etc. etc. So just see what it is that you have to work on or you want to work on. If you're completely happy with yourself and you don't have to work on it, but usually there is something we want to let go of. Usually there's something we really want to change in our life. And like I said before, for me it has been the best way to meditate and go deeply into the things, understand them, recognize and see that this is not useful at all. It's not helping me. It's usually taking a lot of time and a lot of energy and a lot of wisdom. I think it's time for questions and answers, or is it, am I right? If you have any questions. I felt it was entertaining to dive into this topic and see what has been my ego. I used to be married and I was very, very good in telling my husband how he should be. I really knew how he should be. And after I started to meditate, I saw how bossy and boring I was.
Can you give tips to how to deal with other people's?
How to deal with other people's ego. Do I see other people's ego if I don't have ego myself? I can ask you back. I think, it depends on what it is. I think if other people trigger me, then it has something to do with me. I think the best way to deal with other people's ego is to allow them to be. To accept, deep acceptance. Because like I said before, you are not going to change them. You cannot change them. And whatever way they decide to, or whatever path they decide to go, that's their decision. And I cannot take others people's karma away from them. We really want to save people from going the wrong path. Sometimes they have to go, it is the right path for them. Sometimes they have to go this path, even though I feel like it's wrong, because there is some kind of karma hidden in it. So I think if people around me have a big ego and it touches me, that's just mirroring my ego. So I don't have to deal with them, I have to deal with myself. End of the day, it's all in my head. Best way is to have a lot of humility and acceptance and just see who they are. See that this is their part, this is their role, they're just playing their part. There's another question. Yeah, they want those are online, so they hear it. Otherwise, I have to repeat it.
Just in the same vein, in a situation whereby the other person's ego leads them to behave in a way that has a detrimental effect on yourself, how do you distinguish between responding in a way with humility, but at the same time being self-preserving?
In some situation, it is, or say for example, okay, you are on a spiritual journey, there's somebody who affects you greatly in a negative way, then you have to protect yourself, because you see this person is affecting you more than you can manage. So it's like you said, it's having a big effect. Sometimes it is necessary to withdraw, and if it's possible, to be less with that person. In a family situation, it's tricky. But if I'm with people who are affecting me badly, and I possibly can be less with them, or to stop being with them for time being, while I'm building up my strength, building up my power. Because there can be people who really, really affect us negatively, and I have to decide, is it healthy for me to be around those people? So I'm not encouraging you to cut out people from your life, but in some cases, it is necessary to withdraw and be less around them if you want to empower yourself, become stronger. And that might be the right decision. But like I say, sometimes it's impossible. You just have to see what is possible, because we are on this journey. I'm on this journey just for myself. I'm not here on this earth for others. There are people that has come into my life, they come and go. I'm just here for myself, for my own growth. And my purpose is to be in good relationship, be in healthy relationship, communicate with people, affect people in a positive way. Sometimes there are people who really, really put a lot of negativity into my life. Then I would say, consider it, if it's possible, do less around those persons or that people. If it's at the workplace, then it's maybe you have to change work, ask for going into another department, or just stand up for yourself and say, this is not working for me. You know, sometimes you just have to have the self-respect to say, no, I don't want this. So, you know, I know it's take a lot of courage, and it's a very, very tough things to do, but you will always be satisfied with yourself if you stand by your side and stand for your right. Because that is like a step of growth. To do that, take a step of courage and self-respect. But like I said, I don't know what that situation around it. I hope this helps. Something else? Something about relationships? That's a tricky thing in this world. Because we grew up in where we learned that our mother and father were constantly trying to change each other, telling each other how they should be. And then we learn here that we should not behave like that. We should just allow the person to be. And it takes time. It takes time and it takes effort. But it is possible. It is possible to understand that I am a soul, and this is a soul who's here with me, and this soul is just playing her or his part, and their part is never right. They're never wrong. No, sorry. No one's part is wrong. So whatever I think about them is not right. Their part are right. No more questions. But you want to say it again? He said, even though other people are wrong, we don't have to tell them and we don't have to correct them. And that's absolutely true. Because when we step up and want to correct others, we are just, feeding our ego. We are just feeding our ego. And we feel good when we feed our ego when we don't know it's our ego. But why do I need to, of course, if they are doing something that can damage some things, or, they're working with some machine and they're doing it wrongly, that's okay. But if you are constantly telling people that they are behaving wrongly, it's just my ego telling them that I'm right. Because, like I said before, we are not going to change them, except they want to change. No one is going to stop smoking because I tell them to smoke. Not going to happen. They just stop smoking when they realize it's not healthy or they don't want it. And it's with everything, eating, smoking, behavior, drinking, everything. No one will do it except they really want to do it for themselves. They can pretend that they are trying to do something, but if the core belief is not that it's right to do it, they won't do it. It's time for meditation. Or anyone who wants to say something else. Okay, so we will meditate. I hope it was useful for you, all this talk about ego. So we sit comfortably and we allow our body to become completely relaxed. I observe my breathing. See how I breathe in and how I breathe out. And now allow the body to become calm and still. And I allow my mind to stop thinking. I don't need to think at this moment. I'm just free from all thought. Let go. And I tell my mind to step into deep stillness. I breathe in white light of peace. I fill up my mind with peaceful light and allow this light to flow down the body. Fill up every muscles in the body with peace. And I relax more deeply. I ignore everything that is happening outside this building, all the sounds that comes from outside, and I think about myself as a being of light. I know I am a soul. I, the soul, am eternal. I have this body as a vehicle here in this life, and I appreciate this vehicle, and I have a great respect for this vehicle. I know that I, the soul, belong to the Supreme Soul, higher being, is there for me all the time. And I can easily connect to the higher being to get power from the Supreme Soul. Let go of my ego. I visualize that I connect to the Supreme Soul. And I'm sitting in a flow of light, is giving me power to transform whatever I want to transform in my life. Supreme Soul is my best companion, my biggest helper, and the loveliest of all. And I love to be in connection with Supreme Soul. Om Shanti. Thank you for being with us this evening. For lovely to do a talk in-house.
Thank you, Sigrun, for the wonderful talk and all the tools and tips given. Our next week topic, same time, same place, and the topic is effect of vibrations. And we product of the week is Being Yourself. Book by Mark Josh is available in the shop. You can browse through your way out. And thank you for joining us this evening and have a safe journey. Thank you.